Well, we have a little bit of work to do tonight. Yeah, carbonated tea. The tea that makes you burp. Let's make sure that I'm not picking up redundancies here with the microphone. There we go. Tell us, what crazy non-carbonated things have you carbonated? I've only carbonated water, because that's what you're really only supposed to use that for. Otherwise, if you do something like milk, or if you put the flavoring in before carbonating, right, and it carbonates up, it's going to get whatever the syrup and everything is going to go all over the unit, and then you have to clean that up. Whereas if you just have water and it spills over because of the carbonation, it's just water. If anything, you could argue it'll actually remove stains from your countertop or carpet because it's carbonated water. Spicy Larry is pulling from the deck of many things. He pulls the idiot. Permanently reduce your intelligence score by 1d4 plus 1 to a minimum of 1. You can draw one additional card beyond your declared draws. Well, here, this is for the free card. There you go. No, this doesn't carbonate anything. You could. I'm not saying you can't. But if you, I don't know, let's say that I filled this with orange juice, and I put orange juice up in the carbonator, and I started carbonating it. Orange juice is going to get all over the little, like the needle or whatever. It's not really a needle, but it, so you have something, you have the valve that sticks down into the bottle, and then the carbonation comes out of that. And so it would get the needle, and then it would go up into the device. You'd get juice or whatever, sugars or whatever, up in there if you did that beforehand. Milk, and it would create kind of a mess. I wouldn't put it past ThinkGeek to have something along those lines. Spicy Larry's going for the deck of many things again. He pulls Ruin. All forms of wealth you carry or own other than magic items are lost to you. Portable property vanishes. Businesses, buildings, and land you own are lost in a way that alters reality the least. Any documentation that proves you should own something lost to this card also disappears. Yep. The next few things you carbonate would be stuck with a hint of that flavor too. Yeah. Yeah, this is spicy. There goes my pizza. Oh, I bet it was a magical pizza at that. I might be able to get a little bit more of the hat in the shot if we go just a wee tad up. There we go. And then we just alter this of the green screen a wee little bit. Hey, I'm making things work. There we go. It's a little better, if only a little. Alright, as you may know, over the course of this week, we assembled a party of 5 individuals that we pulled randomly from the ethers of creation. And in so doing, ethers of... Whoop. Hopefully I wasn't getting too redundant. Apparently my channel turned on. I'm SMRT. Anyway. So we made 5 characters, different backgrounds, different personalities, things along those lines. And it's up to us to have a talk as PCs. Let's get the band together, let's compare, okay, here's our characters, I really wanted to play this, I really wanted to play that, and so we made our characters. How are they going to be interconnected? What are our strengths and weaknesses? And how do we go from there? How many hats do I have? Larry, I have many hats. I am a man who wears many hats. They are great for just wearing around town, for various occasions, for parties. And also, if you're a DM, a hat is a really good disguise, not a disguise, but it's a great way to separate different NPCs. Because your hat can be a full makeup kit, can be a full dress kit. You can always still dress up fully, but it's a little easier to change hats to say, you're one kind of an NPC or another. And of course, using Sorry, there's a cat lurking around. If you use accents and things like that, it helps too. And other little props. You want to come up and say hi to everyone? You want to come up and say hi? I guess she's being high. She's being high. She's staying low on the floor, but she's being shy. Alright, well, I don't know. We might see her. If you see this like little calico streak just going right across, well, there you go. What NPC he's talking as is dictated by he's wearing. Yeah, and it's a good way also as a DM to help remind you to, to remember names and accents, the purposes of NPCs, the gist of an NPC. Spicy says I have a hat collection as well. I've never thought of using... Yeah, use them in game. Here, I'll have an example here. So, a pith helmet may not be something that exists in your campaign world, though. When you see something like this, what do you think? Exploration, maybe someone of some proper birth who's been sent out into the wilds. There's different stereotypes that exists for the different hats that you can wear. And so, while the pith helmet doesn't exist in your D&D campaign, you can instead wear the pith helmet and change your accent, and suddenly you're the explorer NPC. You're the guide taking them to their destination as an elf, as a gnome, I don't know. Though you have on your more complex hat here. And now I'm the tinkerer, I'm the mad inventor, or I'm just I'm a proper mayor of the town. Whatever you want to assign it to, but a hat is a great way to accent your performance for your PCs. The real Dorgrim, I have long hair and sometimes use that instead of a hat. And you also use hoodies. Yeah, that's very good advice, Dorgrim. Delcorn, in response to the Spicy Larry's question, enough that he probably has a huge bag he carries with him to every game. No, for my personal game, on Sundays, I do sometimes, like, I might wear a hat, or I might bring in a prop or something along those lines. Though the group that I've been gaming with for a while, because my campaigns go for a year and a half or so, and I've refined them to the point there's understanding on both sides of the table, that kind of a thing. I don't really use props too often in my personal game, unless I really need to make a point. Now, what I do use are accents and body language. And so I'll stand at the table, this is another great tool as a DM. I know we're having a PC conversation, but whatever, that can wait a minute. Standing at your table makes you a giant. Standing at the table makes you an imposing orc, right? You have your PCs who are in a supine state. They're sitting. They might even be hunched over. Hopefully not hunched over a phone going, yeah, whatever. Just tell me when it's my turn. But they're sitting. You as a DM, when you stand, you are the alpha. You're a commanding presence. And if you talk with a loud and booming voice while standing, you are suddenly a giant, a hill giant, a storm giant. Crackle, crackle, crackle. Things along those lines. And so body language and accent and the power of your voice can also be makeup and costume and things along those lines. Hey, I'm glad it's a great idea for you, Larry. And your players will appreciate it because you're putting a little bit of extra effort into the game. It will also create more psychological gateways for your players to remember an NPC. Because for some reason they don't write down the NPC's name, and you switch over and you have the guide, right? You have the guide, and even if you talk with a different accent, they're gonna remember. Oh, it's the guide. Yeah, I remember. He's a cool dude. He knows. He has proficiency in nature. If they don't want to be in character descriptive, but yeah, he knows every bug and every branch and everything along the way. Hey, we've created psychological gateways because we've changed appearances, we've changed vocalization, and especially we've changed our posture as DMs. Hey, King. Last DM that stood up and tried to be big at my table got a first-hand telling of Gulliver's travels. Did you end up like pulling him down onto the game mat and like strapping him down and with rope and pittons and everything? Dark Wolf took a bit longer to actually get out of work, though I started the stream at the beginning, but watching in the car now. Hey, well, yeah, welcome. Thank you for joining us even in the car. Whoever's driving probably thinks you're a big old weirdo, but that's fine. All right, so we had our 5 characters that we made up, right? We had Salient Bryven, who was this very interesting, this change of heart. She was a wild child elf, a ranger beastmaster who is from a place outside of Mesotopia. And she found herself in Kandor, and has since, she sowed her wild oats, and now she wants to kind of settle down. She has some connection, and we'll develop this a little bit further into this segment, but she does have some connection here with Guido Morik, who is our half-orc, and he's a rogue. And yes, he is an assassin, though he's not an assassin by a job title. He's an assassin in that he understands that battles that begin quicker end quicker. He's there for the sudden strike to kill or to debilitate, because you're stronger when you have that advantage. You have that surprise. You can control the situation if you're the one taking action first. Now, the connection between here is she's a stranger in a strange land, and then we have Guido and Kaiser, who are half-orcs, and they're more populous in Kandor. On top of that, you have these two, who all have some kind of a military... Well, he has a military background as a background. But Guido here constructs dice. He knows how to play dice. He's very proficient with his dice set. Salin loves gambling. And Kaiser is also proficient with gambling as well. And... so now we have these 3 who are linked together, somewhat. She's traveling. She's trying to not necessarily settle down. I think she eventually wants to return to her lands. But here are 2 strong male presences. Not that she's a weak-willed female or anything, but we have these 2 soldier presences, people who know their way around Kandor, people who want to fight for a better Kandor, and she falls into their presence with what it is that they have planned, and we can develop what that is, because we don't know specifically just yet. Then we have, interestingly enough, we have our 2 hermits, right? We have Tundle Gilgilly, who's a monk, and he was exiled from his lands for a crime he didn't commit. Then we have Duskin Broom, and she entered a hermitage in order to better herself in some way. These 2 know each other through that hermitage, and we made that connection because both of them had this leader of their community that they really look up to, and both of them have the link that they let their need to win arguments overshadow friendships and harmony. So they know each other, and they do ultimately get along, but they love having philosophical conversations with each other. And of the 2, while she reflects within, he's looking for answers outside, because his discovery, as was explained in his personality, in his opinion, should his discovery come to light, it could bring ruin to the world. Now, does that mean the world's going to shatter and explode into space? No, but it could heavily upset the order of things. It could be intelligence on this brewing war with this external empire that we've been building up. It's been in the background of our campaigns, right? It's always there. It should be brought up. Maybe we've encountered agents that have come into Mesotopia by now, but we haven't done that yet, because that's probably going to be our final campaign as we're developing this series of stories that is going to lead up to now the big outbreak and conflict. Dark Wolf says, yes, your dad thinks you're a total nerd, but he should know that by now, hopefully so. Yep, the gambling trio. During downtime, they'll just gamble with each other, but unfortunately, if the pool of money only floats between them, then no one gets any richer. All right, so there's Duskin. There's Tundle. Here we have Kaiser. Here we have Guido. And lastly, we have Salient. Although, I guess you could say technically she was firstly. Now, I went ahead and I did a little bit of homework before the screen started. Hopefully these colors here aren't too distracting. And I tried to go for colors that would, if any of you are colorblind, that will still be able to stick apart in order to convey what's going on. If that's not the case, let me know, and I'll adjust it. I have a player in one of my in my Monday game who does have color blindness, and so it's something. It may be something that we don't often think about as DMs or even as other players, but some of the other players that you're with are going to have a different perspective of the world because of something like color blindness, because of maybe a religious background or an educational background or something along those lines. And so how you present things would be very interesting, or you should be conscientious of how you're presenting to the other people in your party. Darkwolf says they have some special object they bet around. It gets passed around so many times. Yeah, it could just be a traveling trophy, right? And throughout the campaign, that could be just a fun little, you know how like Gimli, it was Gimli and Legolas kind of kept score of how many orcs they killed. Well, in this case, it's who won dice, and they have a little trophy that gets passed around in that case. All right, so what I distilled some information from our 5 characters. Here we have Salient, and they're listed in order of creation. Salient, Guido, Kaiser, Tundle, and Duskin. Laid out their stats to see who's stronger where. Yes, we have characters of different levels. Salient here is a level 17 character. I think she's the highest. Meanwhile, Duskin, we were going to generate at level 2 because that's where it started on the chart. But we bumped her up to 4, so she at least got her archetype, and it would be a little bit more engaging. But here, despite her being 61 years old, she's a level 4 cleric. Well, that's not... Yes, those levels can make a difference, though with who they are, it's just projecting where they're going to be. They're still going to be... Kaiser's still going to favor strength. Guido is a strength rogue. He's still going to favor strength. At level 1, at level 4, at level 15, whatever, level 16 for the next ASI, they're still going to favor strength. They're going to be the strong men. So that's why, especially in 5th edition, those stats, I don't know, that curve is a lot flatter than in other editions. So in laying it out here, and I color-coded them here, because as we make a plot in the next part, we can color-code who we would want to spotlight in order to tell a tale and focus on who might be better at something than someone else. So Salient's strengths here, she is high dex and high wisdom. Guido, strength and con. Kaiser's the same, despite them being a fighter and a rogue respectively. I probably could have put their classes right here. Maybe I'll do that for the next one, but we'll go over that. Tundle here has strengths in dex and in int, and Duskin, she's leading in 3. She's leading in int, charisma. Oh, I'm sorry, Kaiser also had a high one here at 16, and wisdom. I de-highlighted, so I guess I didn't really low light, I just lit. Unlit? I unlit. The 2 highest in each category to showcase where our party members are going to be the best, who are our top 2 in this field. Something to watch out for, and this is going to come up in our SWOT analysis, our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, is that our 2 highest int scores are above average. Well, that might not be fair, right? If we're saying that 10 and 11 is average, they're not just above average, they're higher than average. But we don't have an 18 in int, we don't have a 20 in int, and class-wise, neither of them are probably going to be in the position to get much more intelligent than what we see here. As a party, we're comparing this, and again, let's say that we make our party sheet up. We're going to give it to our DM so that she or he can consider the entity of the party. This is a party character sheet that we're making, and consider content that will both challenge and highlight the strengths of the party. We have all of the scores represented here, with dex showing up 3 times and strength showing up twice. We look at our alignments: lawful neutral, chaotic good, true neutral, chaotic good, and chaotic neutral. So we're leaning towards a more chaotic party. If we're playing to our character's interests, we're going to need to keep that in mind. Though if we have, if 3 of our party members are chaotic, that might be enough to keep that the 3 of them can keep each other's attention, because they're each doing something interesting that the others might want to follow along. Because it's new, it's, wow, I've never seen this before, I've never thought this way before. And they can kind of juggle the attention between the 3 chaotic characters, while we have a lawful neutral and a this would be maybe the engine, right? Because there's a conviction, an external conviction to the lawful neutral character, and true neutral is floating along. He's there. He does wish, but he is thinking personally, but his perception is way further out there, right? Kaiser is our soldier. He's our noble knight. He's not a knight by background, but he is a noble in a military position that does actively fight. And he's looking out for the greater whole, and not trying to pick favorites, but win battles and gain power and influence and try and set things to rights ultimately. Now we look down at our party skill proficiencies, and I did this a bit as a bar graph set on its side. This is allowing us to see where we're going to be stronger. Athletics, 3 of our 5 characters are proficient in athletics. Kaiser, Tundle, and Duskin are proficient in history, and Guido, Kaiser, and Duskin are proficient in persuasion. What's nice is strength, int, and cha. Strength, int, and cha, we've divvied it up, so it's not even like we have a bunch of wise characters in all of our blues, right? Because we have 3. Or, I could recolor code it if for some reason we had characters that, 4 or 5 of them. But blue here was indicating that we have 3. So this is something really strong. If we're including these elements in a campaign as a DM, then our party will most likely beat these challenges, unless something tragic happens. Then we have our skills, where 2 of our party members are proficient, and it's nice to have that redundancy. Maybe they can aid each other. Maybe if one of them, is hauled away by a guard because they insulted them, then someone else, there's a backup. We have a backup sleight of hander. We have a backup knowledge religion. Pardon me. And we can see that we have pretty good weaving of characters here. Where we might run into some trouble is Salen's skills. She has 1 charisma, but look, Salen is the only one who's especially good at survival, perception, and insight. She's very wisdom based. And so that's why I color these ones yellow, right? We have blue, green, and then yellow is caution. Not that you can't proceed, you can. We have a party member who can do this. This is something that they're going to be better at doing alone. And then there are 2 skills that no one has between all 5 members of the party. There is no stealth, no proficiencies in stealth. And investigation, nope. As a DM, we could look at this chart and say, all right, we want to run, we need to ramp up the challenge, or I gave them I gave them out an opportunity to kind of whiz through this next part. Now let's challenge them in order to keep the pendulum swinging. Well, if they are going to be doing some investigation, it's going to take some creative role play if they want to get advantage on something, in order to then roll 2d20 at least and keep the highest. Actually, stealth is going to be even further encumbered because Kaiser wears heavy armor. And I think we gave heavy armor to someone else, too. Did we give it to, I think, Salient, right? Because she's, we made her a melee. No, she's wearing leather. I thought we gave it to someone else. Maybe not. But Kaiser, for sure, is a stealth liability. Yeah, her monk. Why would our monk wear armor? Not really a need to. Scale mail? I'm going to have to look at medium again real quick and see if that's going to be a liability. Scale mail, yep, stealth is a disadvantage. So Duskin and Kaiser are both going to be stealth liabilities in what we have going here. Breaking it down further, among all of the party members, and do some of them know several, or are there repeats? Yes. Though the full list: Common, Elven, Giant, Draconic, Ancient, because we made a distinction early on, Draconic, Modern, Orcish, Thieves' Cant, and the Halfling language. Hey, Kalania. Well, I'm glad you like it. This is a way for us. Right now, we have our PC hats on, right? And we have our party together. We all made characters. Thinking a role play in a meta role play sense, right? We're playing players who made characters, even though we made the characters randomly. And so now we're trying to determine the content of our party and where we're really going to shine. So this is what we have so far. If you need me to scroll back up or explain anything, Kalania, make sure you let me know. Among the party members, here's the languages that we know. Among the party members, here are the different tools that with which we're proficient. Disguise kit, forgery kit, dice set, vehicles land, blacksmith tools, poisoner kit, cartography tools, herbalism kit, and an instrument, the viol, which is what we gave Tundle. Got a downloadable copy. I can put this on the Discord a little later, Kalania. We're actually gonna complete this in stream, this bottom portion for this section, and then I can upload it to Discord afterwards. This is going to tell us, all right, so we can, we're colluding. We're all sitting around, right? Spicy Larry bought us all pizza, and we're eating pizza as PCs are on the table. Like, oh, nice. Yeah, I think we can do something with the dice set if we're ever low on money. We think thoughtfully or create these fantastic situations. You have Kaiser, who I believe gets vehicles land. Oh, no, it was Guido, because he had the soldier background. You know what? We should save up and we should get a wagon and a horse-drawn wagon, and I'll be the teamster who's driving it and go from there. Now, while we don't have evil characters, we certainly have a lot of things that can be used to make their way around the region. Whether if the campaign goes outside of why am I'm just derping on the name? Kandor. If they go outside of Kandor or within it, it makes travel between the regions a little easier. Especially because we've already populated the region with landmarks. We've split them up. There's these different cities that exist. A poisoner's kit can be used in good ways. You could use it as a test kit, or I don't know if there's a really bad person and you need to take them out. Or you can use something like this in order to make maybe like a choking, instead of like an alchemy kit for just a smoke grenade, maybe the poisoner's kit has something more like, it would be more like a pepper bomb or something that would make people cough and have irritants, or they get really itchy, or they pass out because it has a knockout gas or something like that. Cartography tools for making maps, going from there. Herbalism kit, which are non-magical, like, healing patches. And for a little bit of performance, and who knows, we have an instrument player, too. DM tools. Nice, very Dungeon World-esque. My party's actually all LMOP pre-gens. They just fleshed out really well. Oh, that's the Lost Mines of Pandelver? Like a PH Flandelver or something like that. But yeah, the intro dungeon, right? Seems like a very resourceful party. And you know what, Kalania? All of this was done randomly. Well, the characters are generated randomly, but we gave them skills that were fitting into the randomness of their personalities. We weren't going for, min-maxing. We weren't going for maximum coverage, things along those lines. They're all generated independently, and they took skills that are helping themselves to fulfill or to back up who they are as a character, not just as an agent to process mechanics from player into fantasy world. Dorgrim says, I'd allow a good PC to use the Poisoner kit to help with creating... Yeah, it could be anti-venom. The line between a poison and a medicine is very fine. And something like this could be used to heal or at least prevent more harm than just simply saying, oh, it's a Poisoner's kit. Well, you have to be a bad guy to use that, because that's just going to have a bunch of poisons in it that you're going to use to kill people. No... it's not a brewery kit or a brewer's tools, but, alcohols are a type of poison as well. You need to know how it's developed, how to test things. You could test for poison even if you don't have the spell, because a poisoner's kit might have some equivalent of a litmus test. A literal or a metaphorical one, but you could test for poisons also with a poisoner's kit. But that's good thinking, Dorgrim. Kalania says, one of my players gathers up every bit of goo, venom, or ichor they find just in case. Yep, just remember, though, they better be telling you how they intend on preserving that stuff, or rather, preserving it without altering what that stuff is. I mean, you could throw a severed hand into a jar of formaldehyde, but are you getting that hand back? No, because it's been pickled in formaldehyde. It's just been preserved in physical state. So something that you might want to keep in mind as a fun challenge to this person is, all right, great, you scooped out boogers out of the goblins you slew. You're putting those boogers down into a glass vial. Are you going to let them dry out? Do you want to process them? You plucked out the eyeballs of the piranhas that were trying to eat your toes while crossing the river. Okay, that could be an alchemical item or something like that. How are you preserving piranha eyeballs in order to be able to use later? That's how real do you want to get, and that's always kind of like, oh, are we talking about realism in D&D? Yet that's the challenge we always find in ourselves, right? We want to run real games, but we also don't want to put up with all of the real stuff that happens. And then these are roles more combat oriented, but this is going to let us see, all right, what kind of a party are we? Well, Salen's pilot will step up and say, well, look, I'm a Beastmaster. I'm built for melee. I do have a bow, and I'm decent with using a bow, so I can do ranged. I do have low magic as a ranger, which can be some light healing, support magic, and a little bit of combat magic, too. Oh, pardon me. Sorry. I'm talking way too much, and my body's saying, whoa, hey, come on, slow down and breathe. Remember that she also has a companion who can offer support or combat ability, right? So there could be another monster, kind of a monster. There could be another body in the mix in a combat. Guido's pilot steps up and says, look, I'm playing a rogue. I hit stuff. I hit stuff hard. In fact, I really need someone like Salen, her companion, or even Kaiser to step up in order for me to try and get advantage and deal my massive spike damage with sneak attack. Because that's really good. Or, if, pardon, I have like a mustache hair that's tickling my nose, and it's driving me crazy, so, sorry. Maybe during the break I can get some scissors and take some revenge. Anyway, so Guido says, yeah, I need to be up in the mix. I need to, I obviously am not a stealthy rogue, but I need to be there and I need someone next to my target so that I can go for the kidneys. Kaiser, I'll be there all day, every day. I'm a frontline leader. I put my armor on. I go into combat. I don't rush into it recklessly. He goes into combat and he's putting in work. Hopefully other people are there to support him, but he's like the melee leader here. Then we have Tundle, who's a monk. Intrinsically, Tundle is going to be melee, though a little bit different, right? We have Kaiser, and Kaiser's going to just be a wall. He's going to walk into combat, and he's going to stand there, and he's going to dish it out, and he's going to take it. Guido will be, he'll probably do some battle dancing, but he should generally be in combat in some position most of the time. Salient, it's kind of fickle. Depends on what she's doing at any point in time. And still, even with this companion, does she want to send her owl into battle to possibly die? Yes, she can befriend another owl later, but don't look at it as a like a tissue box companion. This is something that she would contemplate. Why would she send an owl into battle unless it was for a specific purpose? So Tundle is going to be highly mobile in battle. Guido to an extent is mobile too. He's quick. He can move around. Remember, he's a halfling. He can move through spaces a lot more easily. And with him being the way of the four elements, he does even get a little bit of magic, a little bit of combat magic. And we ended up giving Tundle, as he exists here. Remember, we're doing this independent of level, but we gave him. Oh, here we go. Fist of Four Thunders, which is Shocking Grasp. So that's a melee magic spell, but it is magic. And then Gong of the Summit. Gong of the Summit is Shatter. And I believe I think you can do Shatter at range. Let me double check. He might be a melee combat character. B, C, G, R. We're coming up to it. Here we go. Shatter. Oh, nope. Range 60 feet. So, he can use Shatter. He can use Shatter from a distance if he really wants to. There we go. Finally, we get to Duskin. She can do melee, though she also is high magic. Right? We made her... Oh, why'd you... Don't split off. Don't split the party. She can hold her own decently in combat, right? She has an okay AC, and she can hit bonk things with her mace. But as a cleric, she gets a lot of spells. Destructive spells, support spells, healing. She has access to more healing spells. Salient is a combat medic. She'll come up and slap patch you and get you back into get you back into combat or to try and stabilize you from dying. Though we have Duskin, who, if she's not pew-pewing with Holy Vengeance, then she is capable of at least memorizing more curative magics, restorations, regenerations, things like that as she grows up in level. Hey, Romonger, thank you very much for the compliment on the hat. How'd your session go today, Ro? What did you get your airship finished? Or last time, if I recall correctly, you set the keel, and while you're doing some more adventuring for blueprints or for materials, or you're building it piecemeal. Like every quest you took would give you a reward, and then you're investing the reward in your airship. If I'm not right about that, please correct me. But I think that's what you've been doing, correct? Kalania says, real, yeah, one of my players got... Oh, okay, we already got to that. Yeah. Alright, so, boom. We have some mechanics for the party, but what's the heart and soul of the party? The party itself is going to tell a story. Just by their existence. These people existed. They came from places. They had families. They had friends. They had careers. What was Tundle's crime that got him exiled from his home location so long ago? Well, that might not be immediately relevant. Sometimes as a PC, we want to hold our cards. We have backstories, whether it's a paragraph or a page or 10 pages. There are some things that we're going to initially keep to ourselves, and maybe we'll, leak out over time when a situation is right, because we want to be able to build a rapport with our other characters in other ways, even if it means a rivalry. Heck, these two are connected because they're both in the Hermitage, and we could probably just say that, like, straight out, they're rivals. They're friendly rivals, but they don't agree on their ideas, or not often. And even if they did agree, they'd go, "We're agreeing with each other." They're pounding the table. "We're agreeing." They both fight, and maybe Salient would come over and want to give her 2 copper, and both of them would just turn to her and go, "No, we're agreeing with each other. Butt out." Is that antisocial? Well, in the context, maybe not. But it's part of the personality to develop. Rose says that's pretty much a drill right now. Ship is far from finished. Today we kind of delved into some drama with our Ranger's backstory. See, look, Rowmonger is proven. Like, you got to hold some cards to you, and then it'll play out later in future sessions. Is that stuff that you wanted to talk about, Ro? Like, what's going on with your Ranger PC and your party? Does this have to do with one of your quests and rewards in order to bring back the money or the parts for your airship? So we need to ask ourselves, you may remember that I did a question like this for our dungeon that we completed last night. What's the point of the dungeon? What does it mean? Why does it exist? Well, why does our party exist? What could our players possibly have in common with each other? And that was a very challenging question. If you all go back to... our first Mesotopia campaign, that was kind of like the prelude. It's part 0 of 6. We had chaotic neutral at best and neutral evil at worst characters who were all like spies. They were very intriguey, deceptive. They all had very like selfish goals. And that definitely was a challenge in getting a party together, because why would these individual agents want to be with each other? And it kind of turned into they were all going to end up like using each other for strength and to fulfill each other's purposes. And there were some other options that we threw out there. That was a very interesting video. I'd recommend popping over and watching it in the VODs here on Twitch. It might still be up. I don't know. If it fades after 2 weeks, I don't have whatever the Twitch Plus is or whatnot. So it may not have been kept there. But you can also find it on YouTube. That was a very interesting party planning process. Here, this is a little bit more friendly because we have 2 groups within the party, and each of the groups already know each other. So now it's making a pineapple pen with both of the groups. So here we have... Say... Guido, and Kaiser. And from the backstories that we're fleshing out with each other, Say came to Kandor from a northern realm, possibly the invading empire. This can cause... concern with Guido, who was captured by them and held as a POW. This is where he developed, right? So we go into his personality. The monstrous enemy we face in battle still leaves me quivering with fear. Now, mind you, he can stare down a hellhound without flinching. He has brave. He is brave. He has strength. His honor is his life. These other elements aren't in contrast with his flaw. These other elements prove how fearsome this external enemy was to him in his perception. We flavored it as the warden of the POW camp, was some like absolute like worst. Maybe he did like not necessarily human, but he did humanoid experiments on people, or he'd execute people randomly, or I don't know, he was just a crazy dude, or just a very cruel dude. In fact, if you want to make something even more compelling, maybe Guido knew exactly why this warden was doing what he was doing, and in so realizing those motives, a part of Guido said, "I am that monster as well, because I understand why he's doing what he's doing. I get it. I can rationalize it." And if you're still afraid after you rationalize it, that's all the more potent, because fears, are usually built on ignorance, upon misunderstanding, upon a lack of knowledge. And so your brain just says, fight or flight, let's get away, I'm scared of this thing. Why can some people keep tarantulas as pets and others won't go near them? Well, you talk to a tarantula owner, and they're going to tell you, yes, they can bite you. It might hurt. Not all of them are, deadly when it comes to that to humans, or there's ways to prevent it, or they only bite in certain circumstances. And they're coming from a position of knowledge, and that knowledge empowers them. Guido is a strong, and Guido's not an unintelligent character. I mean, he has average intelligence. His wisdom's a little low. We attributed that he was a blacksmith, so maybe, all the sparks and all the banging kind of like affected his senses a little bit. But if he's having this character afflict him so much while still being able to rationalize in a wartime setting what's going on, we've kind of created a villain, and that villain might pop up. Anyway, so cause for concern with Guido is captured by them and held as a POW. These two characters we can imagine are going to come together. Now, this coming together is probably going to happen before we, if we want to do a pre-adventure in the campaign as a DM, we could do that. It would be kind of an equivalent of the kid adventures. But this could be the getting the party together adventure. So, cause concern with Guido, who's captured by them and held as a POW. Then we can tie in Kaiser. We could say that he either rescued or even he was a POW. Let's say that he's a noble. Kaiser rescued Guido. They share a bond of battle brothers. They played dice together. And Say was attracted to them both for their skills, experiences, passions, and of course, by the allure of the dice. Because, dun da da da. No, stop this. I'm just clicking. Dun da da da. I'm a born gambler who can't resist taking a risk for a potential payoff. In this case, we're going with maybe a more literal gambling sense, but of course this could be taken metaphorically. It could have been a gamble to approach these two. Both Guido and Kaiser are middle-aged. So we have these middle-aged, like these old grizzled veterans kind of a thing. They have their own aspirations. And there could even be a romantic attraction. I fall in and out of love easily, and I'm always pursuing someone. Not necessarily in a manipulative way, but definitely Salient wears her heart on her sleeve. And she might have been attracted to either of them for their rugged good looks. They're half-orcs, I don't know, but she's attracted to something about them. One of the halves, both of them fused together. Maybe because there's really no orcs or half-orcs in her homeland, she found them to have this exotic mystique. She approached them, and she saw they were playing a game that she knew how to play. And so they're buddies now. They're gambling buddies. They have chosen for their own ways or means to assist her, or she's coming along because they're fulfilling her goal of I want to make the world a better place. Let me see if somewhere out there, by the way, she has a child who doesn't know her. She is making the world a better place, and these two here are going to be pursuing just that. Especially if it means preparing Kandor for war with perhaps not her people. As we were kind of throwing ideas out there, Her people are the Wood Elves who live in a remote area of this northern empire. They hang out with frost giants. So they're a part of the empire by political boundary only, maybe not by culture, which is probably a reason why Guido, he would have, kind of puckered up at first. But in so learning that, yeah, she's from there, but she's not from there, it would make him a little bit more open-minded to that. So these three are rolling around, and now we can introduce, Tundle and, I don't know. Usually, do you find as DMs or PCs that you guys give each other nicknames, or you just go for the first letter? So we even have like Tundusk here, or whatever, Tunduskull, or, I mean, Tundle itself is kind of short. That is a short joke because he's a halfling. So we have these two. They were bound together by their hermitage. And maybe this hermitage itself is a mystery. Maybe not to them as players, but to their other party members. These two very different people. We almost have like twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger here. They're bound together by their hermitage. Where was the hermitage? What was its point? Even as players, maybe we don't know. Maybe your DM said, don't worry, we'll work it in. They're bound together by their hermitage and their love for debate. Remember, too, when we look back... I already have it up. Who has the two highest int scores in the party? Why, it so happens to be Tundle and Duskin. Now, Kaiser's close. But Tundle and Duskin are the more learned ones, and they learned what they learned in their hermitage. So they're going to be, together, the brains of the party. I don't know, maybe one gets dibs on I'm right lobe, and the other one says I'm left lobe. Hey, Derek. Did you, were you successful with your goals for today? Tundle is the driving force with his apocalyptic revelations. That revelation can tie into the overall events in Mesotopia, which would coincide with the battle plan that Kaiser is hatching to both unite a strained Kandor and set it up to be a leader of the region. So now we're able to weave our two in, and each of them are going to have their own roles. We do have a magic user of our mini group here. And then we have, a tank, we have a damage dealer, and we have a kind of a healer supporter who can also deal damage. Then we have kind of a tank, if by ability, but we have like a damage dealer and a healer. And so we have two mini parties that can come together and form a really well-balanced party. Again, we left all of this to, imagination, but also to random rolls. And if they're to split off in different ways, look at our skills. Look at how they can go about doing what they're doing. Tundle and Duskin are definitely going to be medics of the group. I mean, Salient knows how to slap patch people with a good berry or with a cure spell. But look at all of this, how they're interacting. In fact, when it comes to athletics, like we have Team Strong, and then we have, if we can call them something like that. We have Team Strong, and we have Team. Team Heal, please. whatever. We can have some fun with it. Oh yeah, Tundle and Duskin. So we have Team Strong and Team, I don't know, we'll call them Team Brains. That works. Uh-oh. Delcorn's waiting until 3,500 to have someone, yeah, Dark Wolf will hold your beer. Twig snaps, it's just a deer, you hope. And then now pounces a mad dryad, only a 10 or greater can defeat it. You attack with disadvantage, adding a +2. Arg, he still swings. 15 and 14, Delcorin winning 2 disadvantage battles. Nice. There we go. Hey, Plunder Loot, it's good to see you back. I think I was successful in my regards to sharing the importance of domain and the respect to give therein. You would agree with this? Oh, now are you? So, just for context for the other people in chat, are you talking about the domain in Vampire, like a vampire's domain, or are you talking about, because we have a cleric in the group? Are you talking about a D&D domain? Hey, there you go, Delcorin. Yeah, Dark Wolf, hold his beer. Okay, gotcha, Plunder Loot. Okay, this seems like Delcorin is going to go almost, well, not all in. He's going to go random epic. This is it. It comes down to this. Can you defeat the dreaded Tarask? Only a 20 or greater can defeat it. You attack with disadvantage, adding a +7. Hey, you've done 2 other disadvantages. It's worth 4,000 EXP if defeated. Dark Wolf holds Delcorin's beer. He rolls, stops on a 5 and a 10. Oh, the Tarask. Oh, wakens once a century and squishes Delcorin. Even, oh, was that even, no, it was with this, yeah, even with advantage you wouldn't have. Well, Dark Wolf, you better pour that beer out on, Delcorin's grave, which is that kind of stain in the soil. In memory of him. Here, I'll tell you what, Delcorin. The gods have had mercy on you, and here's a little bit of EXP so you can get a res, please. Because I don't think you're coming back from that. Romonger says, long story short, our ranger was an XO for a ship that was engaged in unrestricted warfare during quote-unquote the Long War and was wanted for war crimes. We had to gather evidence for his trial. Now, is this evidence in defense, or are you actually in the position that you need to put your companion, like, are you on the defense or are you on the prosecution? It sounds cool that you're now engaging in a mystery on the side and you're having to do this logic and deduction and not just like chasing criminals or bonking bad guys. I like that kind of mix in a game. Plunder Loot does enjoy VTM. It's a very fun game to play. I agree with you. And there's Tarask meat being served. Plunder Loot wants to release the Kraken. Well, it's not necessarily a Kraken, but as soon as you get 2,000 EXP, Plunder Loot, you can take a chance and do random epic, and we'll see what you do there. Dark Wolf pours a beer for Delcorin, and Delcorin cheers from the grave. Res, please, you are dead, but not for long. When the spell ends, you arise and find yourself as a female gnome sorcerer. Do 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 do. Male dwarf wizard to a female gnome sorcerer. Interesting. Well, I'll let you ponder the, the innies and outies of that situation. Oh, Kraken is in the rum. Gotcha. I guess that might be a good name for it. All right, so we have our 2 little teams of players. Now, ultimately, they're going to function as one group, though they can develop a rapport inside their groups, and I can share some practical experience. With the current campaign, we started with 3 colonists who are of the normal humanoid races, and 2 of the players decided to play bestial races. You know, I allowed them to play bestial races of Volos. And so we didn't really run it like, you know, Cowboys and Indians kind of thing, but they had their own culture. In fact, they were able to contribute to the campaign world because I prompted questions. Okay, why are you two together? What is the link between your two tribes? And so we have these spirit worshiping, these very animist beast people, beast tribes, and those two players were sort of blood brothers with each other, despite one being a lizard man and the other one being a barbarian, a minotaur barbarian and a lizard man cleric who took the grave domain, and that actually kind of reminds me, Kalania, the grave domain cleric. He kept some turtle shells that were sealed up with wax, but you could take the lid off of them. And he collected all sorts of stuff, but he let it rot because he was interested in studying poisons and diseases. And the best way to do that, you throw something in there and you just let it fester for a little bit, and then he'd open it up and observe it. And so what this actually led to was it was a fun. It provided a little bit of inter-party conflict, but not an unhealthy inter-party conflict. There was a difference between the two. It was definitely a role-playing challenge for both sides of the party, and it had its own spin-offs of, you know, of jokes and humor. There's the one where the Minotaur found a muumuu, a very nice green muumuu, and he wanted to wear it. He didn't know what a muumuu is or who wears it or why, but just think about it. You have this bulky, and of course it's a muumuu, right? You have this bulky, huge Minotaur barbarian who's wearing a very lovely, just kind of a frumpy nightgown that's green because he likes the color green, and he wanted to try and fit in and wear clothes like the other people. You know, and then you have this disease-collecting cleric, and it made for an interesting combo. Unfortunately, those two players, the characters ended up getting set aside for various reasons. You know, the party's still full, but they're out there somewhere doing something. So you can have this kind of a cultural division inside of a party to create separate camaraderies, and then opposites attract, and each side brings something to the table as players, let alone to present to the DM as part of the campaign world. In fact, we even came up with a language called trade. Trade was a form of common. You have all these disparate beast races who live kind of in isolation from each other. Well, they developed a common language between each other that they would use to trade. So it'd be like a protean kind of common. And it's very gesture heavy. It's very, like, you know, you hold up the thing and you can, you know, grunt or make some universal words that humanoid beast people could near universally make with each other. And so this opened up a language slot to my players. Do you want to learn the trade tongue? Trade was different from common. And there was actually a linguistic barrier. Some of the civilized, actually it was one or two of the civilized PCs didn't speak trade, and the two beastmen PCs didn't speak common, but they could speak trade as well as their own separate tongues. And so some of what was done was role playing by acting with each other, or by having a translator in the party go back and go back and forth. Delcorin was hoping for a gnome barbarian. That way you show them no mercy. Plunderfoot, I mean, if you want a gnome, just shave a dwarf. Hey, yeah, even in the PHP, it kind of speculates that rock gnomes and dwarves might just be cousins. Romonger says, defense, it was a lot of breaking into embassies and naval headquarters. We had to prove that the Tarantian Navy was making their warships look like merchant vessels. Mr. Plunderloot, my PC doesn't like that answer. Plunderloot, Romonger plays, well, he currently plays a female tiefling character, though originally she was a male dwarf, a tinkerer, an inventor. Think of kind of like a steamship scientist. And he had an unfortunate run-in with the deck of many things, and grew a tail and horns and some other bits. But Sten, right? Sten is your character's name, if I'm recalling correctly. Sten is still Sten, and Sten still remembers being a dwarf and all that entails, despite her looking as she does. Oh, that reminds me, Romonger, do you have pictures of your minis? I'd love to see it. Jim Jam sneaks in like a thief, steals the DM's hat once again. I'm starting a collection. Hey, now you just got to get some time travel, and it'll be like a hat in time. The hat's even kind of the same. Plunderloot says, I mean, a dwarf is much better than a gnome any day. And hopefully those aren't last words. You go on an adventure in the plains, a warg hops out. You do get to attack with advantage, and nope. Plunderloot gets to live with those words being uttered before saying, I'll be right back. There you go. Yep, you got this. Very nice, Plunderloot. Alright, so above, here's our party, right? We broke them down mechanically, and we're also able to use that as an outline for the party of the entity of the party. And now we're starting to breathe a little bit of life into it. How did they come together? What are their thoughts? They have their individual traits in the they have their individual traits as characters. But now we also need to say, all right, we're PCs, we're sitting around the table, we have our characters. Hey, nice, Plunderloot. You're yeah, only that much more till you get to your epic quest. Remember, if you're feeling sassy, you can always do !duel space name space amount. If you don't put an amount, that's a duel for honor, right? Because nothing is bid except just a win or a loss. You can also try and defeat random monsters by going !battle space number. And the number has to be 100 or more. Or you can type in all, but your all EXP has to be greater than 100. All right. What is a SWOT report? We've been doing this for the past couple teams. It's an effective business tool. Macabre Derek, I know that you have an interest in, in business and things on the side. This is probably not a new term to you, though this is a term that we can really use to analyze a lot of different situations. And a D&D party is one of those. SWOT stands for Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats. Really, we can break it up in the middle here. Whoop. And of the SWOT, this is how it is broken. Your strengths and weaknesses are things that are internal to the party itself. Your opportunities and threats are purely external to the party itself. This way you're getting a bit of a holistic approach, and you're willing to accept the fact that, yes, we have weaknesses. We have things that we're just not going to be good at doing. But you know what? That's compelling storytelling. And that's also a way for you to, your DM will test your weaknesses, and if you overcome them, they're not really going to be weaknesses anymore, or you're really going to have a heck of a story you can share with other people. Oh, Derek says you're not familiar with it, so I'm glad to learn. Yep. When you're doing business plans, a SWOT report is usually included as a way to show that you're thoughtful and diligent in your internal capabilities and the things that you are just predicting are gonna be straight up weaknesses. And your opportunities and threats are showing you've done market research outside. You've gone out into your community. You've searched in the industry, things along those lines. We can say, you know, we have a party, but I don't know. Let's say you want to make a D&D themed bar. You know, strengths. I have played RPs for 20 years. Weaknesses. I have never run a bar before. Right? Then we come to opportunities. There is nothing like this for 100 miles around. Threats. 20 people in my city play D&D. Whatever, you know, you get the idea though, right? And so you'd make a SWOT report as part of a business proposal if you want to find private investors, go to a bank, take on debt, those sort of things. That way it shows that you're not just saying, oh yeah, I have this great idea and here's a picture. You're actually putting research into it. Oh yeah, global cooldown on that. Dark Wolf goes into... Whoop, sorry, I missed even another interaction here. What do we have? She checks her EXP, does a battle for 150, and loses it. While she might be salty from there, she's going to go for a soothing walk in the forest, and an ogre appears. She is taken by surprise, so she has disadvantage here. 8 and 15. 8 plus 3 is 11, so she falls a little short. That's an ogre joke because they're tall. No, she got a twofer. Plunder Loot tries to go into the forest, maybe to rescue you from the ogre, because you've been captured, Dark Wolf. And there's a minute cooldown, so Mr. Plunder Loot, yeah, he'll be right behind. You like dealing with a monster that hucks an I-beam through a steel door to get the party to leave them alone. Yeah, that's okay, Plunder Loot's going into the forest. Can he save Dark Wolf from the ogre? Well, there's an orc warband in the way. Well, apparently they're going to invade. You need a 12 or greater, and you have lots of disadvantage tonight. Yo, you guys gotta... Have you done your stretches? Like, did you do your pregame stretches and, like, your twists, your calisthenics? Anyway, you got an 8 and a 10. 8 plus 3 is 11, and you also fall short. So now Dark Wolf is taken hostage by an ogre. And let's face it, the ogre's probably working for the orcs. So Plunder Loot and Dark Wolf are being held in a cage by an orc warband that has an ogre among their ranks. Yeah, Delcorin. Nearing Russell. Is it a rabbit? No, it is a poisonous snake. 8 and 4 with advantage. Oh, she just gets there. There we go. All right, so Derek, hopefully this very this explanation, you know, this kind of quick and dirty of what a SWOT report is makes sense to you, and we'll make it come alive in an RP sense as well. Oh man, Dark Wolf. Our heroes on a Saturday night have apparently been partying a little too hard and are falling all over. Alright, so what are some strengths of our party? Well, let's look at our character sheet here. We have great spread of abilities, saves, and skills. Right? Look at this. There's at least 2 standing out here in each of their fields, and 2 of our 5 members have 2 of our 5 members are each the top in 3 different stats, right? Duskin and Kaiser, which that could lead to something very interesting. You know, like a nice interaction, especially here if like Duskin and maybe Duskin and Kaiser, there might be some kind of a, eventually like an attraction between the characters. Meanwhile, maybe Salient and Guido will find something to, you know, kind of moon over. Where does this leave Tundle? Well, I don't know. Tundle could maybe even be attracted a bit to Duskin. Or he actually is enchanted with Salient because he's probably not seen another woman outside of Duskin or whoever was in his hermitage for some time. You know, good opportunities. You know, let alone if they get like a NPC companion or a porter or something like that. On top of that, look at this. We know a pretty good spread of languages, especially for the region. And our party tool, our proficiencies are great. Languages and tool proficiencies are definitely strengths. As well, we have a really well-balanced party. And again, this was all just random. Salient, she can do melee, she can do a ranged, and she has low magic, and that magic can be light healing, support magic, or a little bit of combat magic. And she has a companion. Guido is melee, and he needs a buddy if he's going to get that that advantage in those sneak attacks. Well, it just so happens that Guido has a buddy with Salient, and she can step up and fight. Or Kaiser especially is going to be up in the mix, right? He's this fighter, he's this battle master. And so, boom, a nice triumphant of like a self-contained ecosystem of battle right there. But melee, very flexible. And then we have kind of Team Brains here. Tundle is definitely melee as a monk, but his 4 elements are giving him access to low magic, and that's combat magic even. He has 1 touch and 1 ranged as we generated him. But again, we're not worried about their levels. We're just worried about their concepts. Then we have Duskin. Duskin can melee, right? She has a strength score. She has a bonk and stick. She has a little pokey-do here. Though, being a cleric, she has access to way more healing than Salient can. Salient is a slap patch healer. You know, get up or stop dying kick. You know. She also can take a lot of support magic. And she has high combat magic as a cleric. Our party battle rules cover almost everything. Our weaknesses? No. There are 2 skills no one has proficiency in. Stealth and investigation. 2 of our party members wear armor that will give them disadvantage at stealth. Now, that said, you know, we look at Salient, right? She's a ranger, Dex is her thing. That doesn't mean she's going to be bad at stealth, but no one is proficient at stealth. And no one is proficient at investigation. That could be a weak point, especially if we want to, you know, kind of Metal Gear Solid our way around something. Right in our dungeon, as soon as you get in, that could have been an option. Do you want to try and sneak around the, you know, the Sahagin guards, or you just want to run up and bonk them? Well, this party might just want to run up and bonk them. Though, can you use the advantage? Can you use the environment to your advantage? Yeah. If people are getting disadvantage on perception checks to hear, then having no, not negatives, but having just no proficiency in stealth is going to be a lot better, and you can still try. And if it's not an environmental hazard creating a disadvantage, can you roleplay into gaining an advantage from your DM? That's something that maybe a lot of 5th edition DMs, I don't know, I've not played under a lot of others or seen tales, but remember that advantage and disadvantage is a living part of this game, as well as inspiration, and a DM should always be cognizant of PCs trying to gain an advantage or limit disadvantage in some way. Dark Wolf goes into a dungeon, and Falling Rock, it's going to try and squish her, but she does get to attack with advantage, or dodge in this case, 17 and 15, and she easily gets out from underneath that rock. The ogre probably threw it at you as you're trying to escape. What are some other weaknesses? Well, on our map, we no one speaks gnome, and no one speaks no gnomish, no infernal, because gnomes and tieflings do exist in Mesotopia, and odds are they're going to be able to speak common. Though if something specific came up, that would be NPCs could talk that language in front of them, and who'd know. Also, No arcane magic. Now, that's kind of a fluff bit. You know, is a cure spell from a natural source and a ranger and a cure spell from a divine source and a cleric going to still cure? Yes, it still cure wounds. For dramatic flair, for fluff, we don't have any arcane users. The closest you could probably argue would be Tundle, but this is key magic. This isn't really even arcane. He's simulating these wizard spells, but he's not casting them as a wizard by any means. So we have no arcane magic. No Gnomish or Infernal. No Stealth or Investigation proficiencies. One party member is from the Empire. She might have the complexion. She might have the look. She might still carry an accent. Because if you remember, it's High Elves that moved into Mesotopia in the desert region, and we rolled up a wood elf. So she's an elf, but is she the right type of elf? She's clearly an outsider, and as we gave her a snowy owl as a companion, you just don't see a lot of those around here. So she's an out-of-towner, and things are pretty tense. So this could get the party in trouble, right? We have an outsider. And that's at least her, let alone if Tundle and Duskin are probably from Mesotopia somewhere. But what's this hermitage? What is this about? That's a big mystery as well. Is that a threat to the party? Maybe not as much as traveling around with someone who sticks out a little bit more like a sore thumb. Rowmonger says you can always investigate with a dagger. So they are weak to pointy things. So they don't wear gorgets to protect their necks. Plunder Loot is feeling sassy, going into a forest. Is it a deer? No, a giant elk is trying to get you. You need a 10 or greater. You attack normally. Yep, you do win. Plunder Loot, if it does prompt you that you attack normally, all you have to do is roll exclamation point 1d20. But still, both of your rolls are above what you needed, so no harm, no foul. Now, what are some external opportunities for the party? A lot of this can come in with their overcoming their flaws or strengthening bonds, maybe meeting an ideal in some way. Right? She wants to build bonds of friendship. She wants to leave the world a better place for her child that she barely knows, if at all. Pardon me. That's a reminder to breathe. Right? People have hydration bots. I have a yawn bot, and that's telling me that I need oxygen. So we have opportunities for the party. Well, for sure, Tundle's discovery as part of his background could be a great opportunity for the party to gain recognition. Say can leave the world a better place. Kaiser can better jockey for position in the region's government. That's what he wants to do. Guido's just like, he's kind of out there. He's happy, like he's middle-aged. If he's comfortable, he's comfortable. He doesn't really have grand plans. That doesn't make him an uninteresting character. He just wants to live a simple life and probably retire and, go from there. Maybe he has children, not by bond, or maybe he doesn't, and he wants to, he spent his youth in the military. He was captured for a while. He's aged since then. A lot of his best years are behind him. Maybe he wants to try and sire an offspring with someone. Maybe he wants to adopt, or maybe he wants to become a teacher and teach the next generation as his kids. Do something it's still profound. It's just on a personal level and not a grand and obvious one. Pardon me, sorry about that. And Duskin can find enlightenment before she passes. Remember, Duskin, she's also middle-aged, but she's nearing elderly status at 61 for a Dragonborn. Middle-aged. Old. Tundle is an old halfling. Salient is the baby of the group. Now, yes, she's 172. That's kind of interesting, right? He's old at 180. She's almost as old as he is, but he's near the end. She's just coming to terms with having a wild youth and going from there. So as we're role-playing as opportunities, we have this generational gap. We have ways that we can, we're accessing meta-knowledge by having elderly characters who are around for initial invasions or who might have picked stuff up along the way. Whoever is playing Salient has a great opportunity to reflect on what the concept of age means. What does it convey? She's almost as old as Tundle, but she's far going to outlive all of them put together. You know, how does this play into, how does this young woman play into Guido or Kaiser? You know, what if she does she want to go on and maybe, right, if Kaiser is getting what he wants and they're all getting what they want, well, if Guido's a simple man, maybe he just returns to Salient and tries to be a father to the child that she left behind, and and maybe this is a way for him to face his fears. He's going to go north, return back with her, and try and be a father to this child until he himself passes. But hopefully he's raised a child in some way, left a mark on him or her, or them. Dark Wolf entertained the idea that it could be a couple kids. We never really fleshed that out. And then, so Salient will outlive them all in this case. But what does she take? We could almost flavor the campaign. She's the youngest. We can almost flavor the campaign, or if we're writing this as authors and we're writing a story, the campaign is Salient's journal. It's her diary. It's her memoirs. Things are from her perspective. Maybe with some flavorful, narratives or the explanation of, oh, well, they did this and it was explained to me. But this is a powerful storytelling tool. And also why you as a player or DM should watch out. If you have races that can live to be almost 800 years old, there's a far different outlook on life that you're going to get. Tundle is living longer than normal for sure, but we have 3 short-lived races, a medium-lived race, and then a very long-lived race. Oh, did I miss a couple things here? Alright, so I gave Plunder Loot some EXP. He's going into the forest. Into the plains. Can you defeat it? You stop on a 1 and a 7. And unfortunately... Oh, Plunder Loot. You fall on your own sword. Oh, blarg. Blarg. Well, you had the best intentions to take out that goblin, but unfortunately the goblin got the best of you. Romonger, Team Strong. Are they from Soviet Russia? Yeah, they're just the brawn, and then we have the brains with the other team. King says, what do we call a middle-aged lady dragonborn? Cougars seem wrong for a reptile. I don't know, a Komodo, maybe. We've already established that they burst into feathers upon puberty. See, I like that. And I think Jam Jam might have been exploring a similar concept as a side project. It is theorized a lot of dinosaurs and whatnot actually had feathers, because they are predecessors of avians as well. That could be a fun thing, to have a dragonborn that has feathers, or it's a puberty thing that's showing that they're growing up, and they might lose the feathers, but they'll wake up and find that they now have feathers where they had none before. It'd be cool if their scales change color due to age. Now, do you mean color as in like chromatic color, or do you just mean that when they're born, maybe they have more like snake skin, where it's really fine, shiny scales, and then they sort of like grow out like baby teeth into adult teeth, and then they get their adult scales? which are more like plated, and then as they get older, maybe they become more rigid or something like that, or maybe I'm sorry, in like adulthood, it's like what's there's some lizards that have like banded scales. It's kind of like what you see on the bellies. For the life of me, I can't remember. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. You get like the soft snake skin, and then you go to more like an alligator skin or those bands from that one reptile type. It's I don't know why it's escaping me. It's a cool name. It's a neat looking reptile. And then you kind of go in elderly age, and then like those fall out, and then you have like the really tough. You have the tough, mature like dragon scales, and that's kind of like you getting arthritis or something because you're not really mobile because these scales are a little kind of stiff and clunky. Jam's checking EXP. Hey, look at you. Yeah, unfortunately, Jam, you have lost a couple places, especially to Shadzar, because Shad was making some big bets on exclamation point battle, and he was doubling. Well, he wasn't doubling his money, but he was doubling like 1,500 EXP bets a couple times in one of the last times that Shadzar was in chat. All right, what are the external threats to this party? From the outside, in some ways they're going to reflect the opposites of your opportunities, but especially if you're making a business report, don't make that seem obvious. Salient getting the party in trouble with officials who might be looking for those of her type. Some other threats are going to be nefarious forces such as the Empire or even the Hermitage, to which Team Brains belongs, could come and find them or want to tear them away or somehow eat at the party. We also have the by the way, as a weakness, that's an internal thing. Their flaws, their penchant for arguing. Another outside is Kaiser's nobility or feelings of dominance being constantly triggered by the strife and leadership opportunities that are around him. You know, he does have compassion for... He sees people as less than him, but he does have compassion for them. And so this could be an external threat of there's always someone to help. There's always a battle to be fought somewhere. How is he going to stay on track, let alone the others? His nemesis or aversion to anything Empire related. That's beyond his control. If the Empire attacks or they discover an Imperial plot to invade Kandor, this is going to make Guido seize up a little bit. You know, he might not go into it as wholeheartedly as he should. And Salin, this could be messengers from her homeland. Even non-imperial, that seek her out for revenge for her criminal wrongdoings. And even if they're not from her homeland, they could even be from Kandor or another place, and they see her and they're like, you let our caravan through the snowy pass and it collapsed on us. Yeah, we did some research. And we also learned that your name is not Santa Caliena. And suddenly we have an oopsie. Yeah, I kind of did a lot of criminal stuff in my past, and it might be catching up to haunt us right now. So, messengers from her homeland, even on Imperial, that seek her out for revenge for her criminal wrongdoings in the past. Oh, snap. King is going on an epic battle. You attack with disadvantage, but you do get a +6 modifier. It's worth 2,000 EXP if defeated. Yeah, I know. Disadvantage has been running strong, Dell. I see there's a couple things I'll narrate above, too. I'm anxiously awaiting 2d20. 2 and 4. Oh, blarg. King. King has gone to meet Lolth. Can't keep the beautiful Spider-Woman off of me. Let's see what other mischief you all have gotten yourselves into here. Dark Wolf is battling and wins. Nice. You got some sugar for the salt. Mind Flayers are... Yeah, so there's that in the Underdark. A bunch of egotistical, obnoxious mammals running around buildings. Things out of sticks and dung. Row checks EXP. King ain't going to be so high and mighty when their think meats get eaten. Row tries to fight a random monster and wins. Yay, sugar. King checks EXP, and that's Row then battles again and loses 250, and that Woot goes to poop. And what else do we have? Oh, Delcorn is feeling sassy, battling for 500 and wins. Nice. Well, you know, you can enjoy Lolth. Lolth is her own thing for sure. She's all yours, King. maybe you'll be King Von Dreider after too long. Or would it be like Dreider Von Alle? Whichever one sounds better. So here you go. Here's our party. We have them all set up and ready to go. I'm going to take a little bit of break, rearrange some things here, and then we're going to outline what a campaign would look like in this region with the elements that we've come up with throughout the course of the week. So stay tuned, have fun, stick around, ask questions, etc. and so forth. Alrighty, I'm back. Sorry, I got a little chatty when I was AFK here. Now that we're building a campaign, we should get some fun music. Maybe Clash of Kings. That sounds kind of fun. Yeah, let's. We'll pause the Slaughter Docks, and we'll load up this other one. Come on, where are you? There you go. Bink. And yay, I'll put my headphones on. Oh, what did I miss? I probably missed shenanigans of some kind. Let's see. King was checking in on Lolth when last we left him. Oh my. 25 decks, huh? I'll be busy, guys. Yep. Hey, Clark. King just got abducted by Lolth, so he's going to be a little busy for a while. But I'm just coming back from a tea break. In fact, I have a nice big pitcher full of it, and maybe I'll be a heathen and drink it on camera. Oh, here, let me come back.